The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. Welcome inside a Thursday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Brought to you, as always, by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. You can see them in the top right-hand corner of the screen there. They are our proud sponsors. They've been with Running Point for a long time now, and we thank them for their continued support and belief in what this show can be and everything they do from YSN. And on over to Greenwood Chevrolet. If you are in the market for a new or used vehicle, they will go the extra mile for you. We try to do the same here on this show every single day, and we do that by featuring interviews every day with either your coaches or your players out there in the YSN family. Today, we're continuing our season previews. We have spring sports right around the corner. Scrimmages are the next couple weeks. Softball starts a week from Saturday, and baseball will start the week after. So we are right on the horizon of spring sports starting. We already had a season preview with Steve Ward on Tuesday. That was a fun one. We have our one with Fred Moots going to be featured today as we stay in the AAC for Boardman softball, and we'll see what's going on in Spartyville with Coach Moots as well. That'll be in the second half of the show. We will also, of course, recap the action from last night. We had two regional semifinal games in D1 and D3, respectively. So we'll go over what happened there and a lot of other fun stuff on today's show. So let's get right to it. Let's hit this Thursday running. Let's go into our scoreboard on ysnlive.com. As always, this scoreboard is presented by Burnett Pools, Spas, and Hot Tubs, and it is a great tool for the YSN fans. Whether you are at one of the games or watching one of our broadcasts, either way, you don't want to look away from the screen or the action for too long, and the YSN scoreboard is the quick and easy way to get live updated scores of your favorite teams across the YSN family. We have a hardworking team behind the scenes that make sure that the scoreboard is live updated, so you do not have to wait until late at night for the final scores to come running in. We also want to thank our announcers for doing a diligent job in reporting scores as they're out there calling games. And once again, the YSN scoreboard presented by Burnett Pool, Spas, and Hot Tubs can be found ysnlive.com/scores. Let's check it out. 2 games last night. We will start in Division 1 as Hoban ran into the Garfield Heights Bulldogs, and unfortunately for Hoban, their run comes to an end in Akron. Their hopes of repeating left aside in the regional semifinals, but they still are back-to-back district champions. When you look at the way this game went, 52-43, the final score. Hoban started out really well. Beyond the arc, they were shooting extremely well. John Johnson helped the Knights take a 2-point lead after the end of one quarter, 13-11. But Garfield Heights came back in the second quarter. They outscored Hoban 16-9 to take a 5-point lead in the halftime. It was 27-22 at the break, but you're still thinking, okay, Hoban's right there. They're fighting strong. They're staying in striking distance. But the second half just could not go Hoban's way. They kept being unable to completely keep the Garfield Heights down enough to come back. Both teams actually played pretty well in the second half. 11 points each in the third quarter, so we were still at a 7-point lead. 5-point lead, sorry, for the Bulldogs after 3. And then in the last quarter, it was 14-10. Bulldogs won the final quarter. So, that's a testament of a good team. You get a lead early. You're able to sustain a lead in the second quarter, and then you just play clean basketball after that, and you slowly but surely win. I mean, they had a 5-point lead at halftime. They won by 9, but they never really lost that lead because they just kept playing clean. They didn't let Hoban get any momentum, and that's what good teams do. They find a way to take a lead, whatever it is, and once they get it, they just kind of put their foot on the gas pedal and say, we're going to keep it. Hoban did a really good job always staying in striking distance, but because Garfield Heights, was consistent throughout the day, throughout the night, there was no way for Hoban to come back. You have to have a little bit of help or a little bit of defensive stops to come back. Obviously, you can't trade scores. And Garfield Heights kept answering every time Hoban would make a run. Marcus Johnson led the Garfield Heights with 17. DeAndre Jones, CJ Little, they combined for 13 points each. Hoban was propelled by freshman John Johnson, who led the team with 17 points. Like we said at the top, he had really good three-point shooting, especially to start. Jonas Nichols, he had 15 points as well. And that ends the season for the Knights, who will not repeat as state champions. But like I said at the top, they are now 3-time district champions. And we can't wait to have Jonas Nichols a part of the Ysn All-Star game to put a bow on his basketball season for the Knights. Make sure to check out the Ysn All-Star game on March 24th at Boardman High School. Now, the other game in Division 3, Mooney up against Canton Central Catholic, that game went our way as Mooney gets the win. Final score was 66-52 in this one. And as we look at the way this one went, Jabri Carter had a huge game for Mooney. The point guard for the Cardinals had 26 points on the night. He was also helped by Rocco Turner, who had 14, Eddie Nieves, who had 11, Ashton O'Brien had 11 too. So you had 4 players in double figures for Cardinal Mooney, and that was just enough to really run away from this game. Jabri Carter, is really starting to get into that takeover mode in the tournament. During the season, he was a guy that definitely proved time and time again that he could score if he had to. But he was just such a good point guard, so good at distributing the ball, so good at facilitating that offense, getting people like O'Brien and Rocco Turner and Pregabon and Nieves kind of involved. But now you're starting to see Jabri Carter have moments in that South Range game, in this game, where he's just like, you know what? I need to go be that aggressive scorer. I mean, 26 points, huge out of your point guard. And when you have a point guard that can do that, along with doing everything that you want a point guard to do, that's why I am strongly planting the flag that Jabri Carter, in my opinion, is the best point guard in the Ysn family. There are some good ones. There are some that I would say top 5 in all Northeast Ohio. And I think I'd put Jabri Carter up there. I put Drew Shapiro up there too in top 5 of the whole region. But when I look at Jabri Carter, the X factor in his game is just that ability to just turn it on and become a scorer anytime, consistently throughout the season. He's been able to do that. When you're able to do that and then never also losing what it means to be a point guard, that's ultra impressive from high school kids, because high school kids, they get caught up in the stats, they get caught up in the scoring, and when they start to feel it, there are a lot of heat checks, and sometimes we see a lot of young point guards, and I'm saying young is the sense of even a senior in high school. you're young in your basketball career if you're going to play in college or whatever. So you're still 15 to 18 years old. That's young in life. So we see a lot of younger basketball players still get caught up in the scoring as a point guard when they find a night when they're going off or they're hitting a couple of shots. But Jabri Carter, I've seen him a ton this year, and even in the games when he is scoring a lot, he never once loses that ability to also just play the point guard role very, very consistently and on point. And to be a good point guard, you have to be unselfish. And nowadays it seems like it's harder and harder to find guys that can consistently do that. Guys and girls, I should say, in the basketball court that are playing point guard that are also very good scorers. You see them slip into that scoring mode a little bit, and they lose the point guard mentality. And Jabri Carter has never done. I've never seen him do it, and that's why I think he's one of the best. And that's why I think Cardinal Mooney is moving on to the regional finals. I think to win at this level, to get to regional finals, to get to state, you're not going to do it without a good point guard. You're just not. I mean, you can't survive in high level basketball without having a really good point guard. Canfield has a really good point guard in Drew Shapiro. That's why they're playing tonight in the regional semifinals. Everyone at this level, especially when you start to get in the regional finals, I would say for sure, because some districts are just uneven. So you can kind of navigate some districts and get into a regional semifinal without that solid point guard. But once you get into the regionals and you get into regional finals and state, these teams, everyone's going to have a really good point guard. You can't survive without it. You just can't. Hoban had a really good point guard too. Obviously, we watched Garfield Heights last night. They had a good point guard. Canfield has a good point guard. Ursuline has a tremendous point guard. You look at the teams that are left. Point guard play is such an underrated part of basketball because we all look at the scoring and we say, oh, this kid's shooting lights out from three. He's going to be a difference maker. Or this kid can dunk through the lane. He's going to be a difference maker because he can play above the rim. And all that is true. Those guys can definitely be difference makers for sure. But if you don't have a guy that is consistently able to run your offense, calm your team down, get you in the right positions, distribute the ball where it needs to go, be that second coach on the floor, especially in the quarter where you're away from your coach on offense. Not too many people talk about that too. I mean, there is a keen difference when you're on your side of the court as far as on the offensive side, when you're right next to your coach and he's able to call out plays and really communicate really well what he wants to see out of his offense compared to when you're on the other side of the court and you're not. And I think teams that don't have a high level of point guard, you see a little bit of a difference in their play when they're on the other side of the floor. But these teams like Canfield, Ursuline, Mooney, and JFK, the teams that we have alive still, none of them struggle in that point because all of them have a very good, skilled, and unselfish point guard that can still score. I mean, we saw Drew Shapiro prove in the district championship he can go and score if he has to, and he did. He took over that game. They were all over Dom Cruz. They were all over Sam Castronova. So Drew Shapiro said, you know what? I need to take over this game. I need to go score. He was the leading scorer with 13 points. So point guards that I love it, that have the ability to go and take over, but still never lose that point guard mentality. That is the cherry on top. And we have a handful of them just in the Ysn family alone. But I think Jabri Carter just is that notch above everybody else. I would say, my humble opinion, the best point guard in the Ysn family. And you can argue that. We can have a conversation if you want. We can have a debate, but I don't think saying that takes away from the other great point guards we have, because we do have really good point guards in the network. But just the little difference maker, the little athleticism difference maker, the little ball handling difference maker, and the little ability to go and score 26 points in the regional difference maker there, making him just a tick above everybody else. So Mooney is moving on. They will play in the regional finals. They were the second game of the night, so that's also an advantage. They had the chance to sit and watch the whole game. And Lutheran East got the win in the other regional semi. So Lutheran East, who is, I think, ranked second in the state, will play Mooney, who's sitting in the 5 spot as well. So 2 versus 5 in the regional finals. on Saturday in Canton, same place, Canton Memorial Fieldhouse. Tip-off is at 2 o'clock for that Cardinal Mooney and Lutheran East game in Canton. 2 o'clock time is your start time. So now what we're going to do, since we don't have the typical long long recap like we do during the regular season, we're going to go right ahead into the preview of tonight. Then we'll take a commercial break, and then we'll go and we'll get into our spring sports preview for the day with Fred Moots from Boardman. So tonight, we have Ursuline versus Villa Anna St. Joe's. We'll have to fix that logo because obviously that is West Branch's logo up there. We will fix that before the game starts. That is going to be a good one in the regional semis, and then Canfield taking on Warrensville Heights. Those games are going to be back-to-back in the Canton Memorial Fieldhouse. Ursuline is going to play at 6 o'clock. Canfield will play at 8 o'clock. And let's start with the early game, talking about Ursuline and their road to the regional semifinal. It was one that was paved pretty strongly with domination throughout the district. You look at the scores; they were able to take care of NDCL in the championship, 61-44. They beat Streetsboro 64-35. They beat Lincoln West 74-13. And then, of course, their sectional semifinal, their first game of the tournament, 62-19. So they have not yet allowed a team to 45 points on defense, or Ursuline's defense, not talked about enough. When you look at their stats for the year, they are led in scoring by Mr. Payne, 12.8 points per game. They only have two players averaging double figures. Jalen Gunther with 11.3 points per game. And then they have a couple of players with that 8 to 9 point range, so right off the mark of double figures. So the fact that, you look at them and you say, well, they only have two players averaging double figures, there's a yeah, but in there. And the yeah, but is they do have players that can score that are just a tick below double figures. I mean, Gino Lucente, impressive 8.3. You have Will with 8.7. You have another player in Bell with 7.1. So you have players that can score and score consistently. They're going to need that balance, and everyone needs that balance when they go into the regional play. When I'm looking at a big strength of theirs, it's going to be from the free throw line. Ursuline shoots as a team 73% from the line. That is really good for a high school basketball team as a team. You love individual averages, to be up in the 70s and the 80s, but team averages, you can have a little bit more leeway. I think coaches would love a team average to be in the low to mid to high 70s, and 73 for a high school team when not everyone is there for basketball. That's pretty dang good. If I don't say so, if I say so myself, 77 out of 108 is their free throw percentage. They are led in free throw percentage by Gunther, who has 70. He was a 76 3-point free throw percent shooter, and Payne gets there a lot. He leads the team in free throw attempts with 48, and he's still a 73% free throw shooter. So that's really good. When a guy like Jaden Payne can get to the line a lot, because obviously he does a lot of work in the paint, and then not be a liability on the free throw line. That might be one of the hidden factors in tonight's game, because free throws win basketball games, and that's not new news to anybody. But when you have one of your best interior players who gets to the line a lot, who also shoots well from the free throw line, then I think you're going to be in good shape. Now, when looking at Villa Anna St. Joe's, scouting the next team, they come in with a record of 18-7. We all know they play a tough schedule. We all know that record is a little bit deceiving. They have 1, 2, 3, 4 players who average double figures. Their leading scorer is a senior and a captain, and his name is Quandell Wright. He leads them with 16.3 points per game. He also has 5.2 rebounds per game, and he also leads the team in steals per game with just over 2. So he's going to be someone to watch. Right behind him, though, is a guy by the name of Jeremiah Martin, very good basketball player for St. Joe's. He averages 15.8, and he also gets the assists with 5.6 assists per game. That is crazy high. So a point, unlike we're talking about point guards that can score and needing good point guards in this level of basketball, Villanova St. Joe's has a huge one who not only averages 15, but also dishes out over 5 assists per game. So even if all those buckets that he's gotten assists for are twos, every single one of them, at that point, which is the absolute lowest, possible total you could get, he is responsible for 25 points per game. That's if every single assist was a 2, which the odds of that being true are, astronomically not okay. So you could argue he's probably, closer to 30 points per game he's responsible for when you add his assists and his points per. So that's an impressive ball player. And then you have 12.1 points per game from Villanova St. Joe's Jr. Sean Schenker. And of course, 11.4 points per game from another junior by the name of Antonio Brown. So you have a lot of good basketball players for Villanova St. Joe's that know how to score. You look at their shooting percentage, and they do it a lot from the 3-point line. They are, as a team, they have hit 372 threes this year, and they shoot 30% as a team from beyond the arc. Once again, just like, that's a good team 3-point shooting percentage in the 30s. They're just into the 30s. When you look at the guy that is the most dangerous from 3-point land, it is Schenker. He has made 66 threes on the year. He shoots 35% from beyond the arc. Martin has made 18 threes. He's 29% from beyond the arc as well. Free throw percentage, not bad. Not bad for Villanova St. Joe's. They're just under Ursuline, 68% from the free throw line, and their leader in free throw percentage is Schenker. No shocker there. He leads in three-pointers, also leads in free throws. He's an 88% free throw shooter, 35 of 40. They get to the line a lot more than Ursuline does as a team. Though that is something to be said. They have gotten to the free throw line 470 times this year, which tells me they are really good at attack. Excuse me. They're really good at attacking off the dribble, drawing that contact, and getting to the line. So when I'm looking at both these team stats, I'm thinking if you want keys to the game for Ursuline, one, make sure you're getting to the free throw line and you're not losing that battle. I think you have to be able to get to the free throw line more than Villanova St. Joe's because statistically you are the better free throw shooting team. So you have to be able to use that to your advantage. Two, I think first and foremost, you got to keep Villanova St. Joe's off the 3-point line. I think that's where they'll hurt you the most. And then third key to victory for Ursuline, I would say, is just keep that balanced offense. You have to be able to score with these guys for Villanova St. Joe's. You look at their team points per game. Villanova St. Joe's averages 65.6 points per game as a team. And I'm going to go back and get Ursuline's real quick just to compare those two. Ursuline averages 40.9 points per game. So that looks like a little bit of a mismatch there for the defense. So Ursuline's going to have to win this game defensively. There's just no ifs, ands, and buts about it. They got to be able to go and win on defense, which is what Keith Gunther is known for, by the way. Keith Gunther is a defensive coach. He cares about defense a lot more than he cares about offense. And I think he would love it if his team won with the defense in mind. So Ysn versus VASJ, that game going to be at 6 o'clock. Let's transition to talk about this Canfield game against Warrensville Heights. Canfield, of course, got the win over Glenville in the district championship. That avenged their loss in that round a season ago. Remember, they lost to Cheney last year in the district. They come in with the 22-4 record. And here is their trip through the tournament so far. They were able to beat Akron East by the final score of 61-33. They beat Conneaut 97-29. Then they beat Canal Fulton Northwest 66-47. And then they beat Glenville 64-51. When you look at Canfield and some of their strength as far as their stats go, like every team I think that is at this level, they are also having a very balanced offense, led by Dom Cruz with 15.3 points per game. But then you have a couple other players. You have, of course, Sam Castronova, who's 1/10 of a point off of being in double figures with 9.9 points per game. You have Ben Weaver with 8.5 points per game. You have Tony Russo with 8.2 points per game. And those are your leading scorers for Canfield. But you also have one of the best point guards in the area, Drew Shapiro, who averages 5.9, just 1 under 6 assists per game, which is the best I've seen statistically in the Ysn family. Granted, not everyone's stats are available to us in the public, but the ones that are, I have not seen a point guard average more assists per game than Drew Shapiro. So, he also averages just about 5 points per game scoring. So when you have 5 points per game, I'm going to do the same thing that I did with VASJ's point guard. You add 6 assists per game there. And even if they're all twos, which is not likely, especially with the way the Canfield shoots the three, even if they were all twos, that would be Drew Shapiro responsible for an extra 12 points per game, which would give him 17 points per game responsible for. And I would doubt that that's all threes. I would say closer to 20. So when you have a point guard that can say, hey, I'm not shooting and making 20 points per game, but I'm responsible for 20 points per game. I am facilitating 20 points per game. It's pretty dang good if I do say so myself. Obviously, Canfield likes to shoot the ball. They like to shoot it well, and that is going to be one of their strengths. Hold on. All right, got it. My connection was being a little bit sticky, bringing up the shooting stats. But Drew Shapiro's Dom Cruz's field goal percentage overall, he's a 50% shooter. That's insane. Then when you look at 3-point percentage, Dom Cruz shoots 42% from the 3-point line. That's insane. I mean, 30s is great for an individual. If you're shooting in the 30s, you're shooting in the 40s, that's elite. 42% from the three-point line. That's pretty dang good. Canfield as a team shoots 35% from the 3-point line. They've made 146 threes. As a team, Dom Cruz has hit 66 of those 3-pointers for Canfield. Next in line is Sam Castronova, who has hit 23. And actually, Drew Shapiro, a lot of his points come from the 3-point line. He's next in the team with 16. Ben Weaver's hit 10. You have 14 as well from Tony Russo. So a lot of players that can shoot well from beyond the arc. That's what's been Canfield's bread and butter. Yes, they can drive. Yes, Ben Weaver can score inside the paint. But when they're shooting really well, that's when they win games. And they have a couple of very good 3-point shooters, obviously. Dom Cruz leads that way with 42% from beyond the arc. And I think they're going to live and die by their shooting ability. Like, they're going to have to shoot well to win in these games. They're not going to be able to go into a regional game and not shoot the ball well and come out on top. So that's going to be, the old adage in basketball, you live and die by the shot. Now, they can score inside the 3-point line. So I don't think they necessarily live and die from the 3-point line per se, but they're definitely going to live and die from their shooting ability. They're not a team that hits a bunch of easy layups out of well-designed, plays. They get inside with Ben Weaver, but that usually comes from teams respecting their 3-point shooting so much. You look at Warrensville Heights, stats unfortunately for them unavailable, so we'll just have to check out their schedule. They are 18-6 on the season. Let's look at their run through the tournament. They started with a win over Woodridge, 40-25. Then they had the win over Coventry, 58-39. They got a win over West Branch in the regional, in the district championship by 2 points. 51-49 was the final score there, and that is how they got into this Canfield game. They actually also had the tournament game against Bedford to start it out. They narrowly escaped that one. 50-46 was the final score. They also played Bedford in the last game of the season and won by 3. So talk about narrowly escaping an early upset, as they play the same team 2 games in a row, and both of them were narrow victories for Warrensville Heights. You look at their wins, a lot of close games I'm seeing. In fact, I'm trying to count up the double-digit wins. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a bunch in the start. So Seven out of their 18 wins are double-digit wins. The rest of them were under 10. So they do play a lot of close basketball games. You got to like to see that as a coach, to be able to go and win close games. Obviously, they won a close game in the district championship, outlasting West Branch 51-49. Caveat in that game, West Branch did miss a good amount of free throws, kind of let them off the hook a little bit in that sense. Warrensville Heights, watching just that West Branch game, and not knowing anything else about the rest of their season. So I don't want to judge a team by one game. But in that game, they were putting West Branch on the free throw line quite a bit. They weren't exactly being disciplined defenders. They were fouling a little bit too much, a little bit more than you would like, and you don't want to put good shooting team like Canfield on the line a ton. So just like Ursuline, I think a game plan for Canfield is going to be trying to get to the free throw line. This Warrensville Heights team will put you there. Get to the free throw line, shoot well from the free throw line. That is scoring without the clock running, which is always good for you, especially if you find yourself in the need to come back on a team. So I think Canfield has a little bit of an advantage in this game. I think their offense is a little bit more widespread with firepower than Warrensville Heights. I think Warrensville Heights is going to really rely on that defense. You look at their tournament run, they've had a lot of games in the 50s and 40s. The most they've scored so far in the tournament is 58. They have not cracked 60 in the tournament yet. So I really think Warrensville Heights wants to keep this game in the 50s, maybe the high 40s if possible. If Canfield gets into the 60s or into the 70s, that's a real trouble spot for Warrensville Heights, and they'll be in trouble. The winner of these 2 games play each other, so we have the chance of a Canfield versus Ursuline regional final, which we are definitely rooting for, because then we're guaranteed a YSN team with a trip to Dayton, which would be the I think the only one season YSN hasn't had somebody in basketball go to Dayton, which is incredible. Don't tell me that basketball in Northeast Ohio is going down or losing any luster, because we are sending people to state, whether it be on the girls or boys side, it seems like every year. We have a big chance to do that this year. Mooney's already one step away, and we have 2 more teams fighting to get that one step away. And so is JFK, by the way. We were talking, Mooney's top of mind because JFK played 2 days ago, but JFK also one step away from state. So we have the possibility to have 4 teams fighting for the chance to get into state. And obviously, if Canfield and Ursuline both win, we would be guaranteed one. So we're definitely rooting for that. So those are your games tonight. We will not be able to broadcast these again, just as a reminder because of the NFHS video rights that are being held in the regional tournament games. We will be unable to broadcast them. We will have updates. We will have the scoreboard live and running. We will have hopefully post-game recaps on ysnlive.com as well. So make sure to stay tuned for that. But unfortunately, we just won't be able to broadcast the game live. Once again, that is due to NFHS video rights. You can still find the live broadcast at nfhs.com and get it there to watch if you are unable to make it out to the Canton Memorial Fieldhouse tonight for those two awesome basketball games. So we're going to take a break on Running Point. When we come back, we have spring sports previews to get to, and we have another one out of the AAC. We're kind of going to stay in that conference for a little bit as we talk to Boardman's head coach, Fred Moots. That interview will be played after this commercial break on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Be back in a bit.
Now you can see every school, to the smallest school, to the intermediate schools, to the schools in the outlying areas. It gives you coverage that you could just never get to before. It's something that's great to experience, and it's opened up a whole new wave of sports viewership. The possibilities are endless here at YSN. Push the envelope every day. Try something new. If it works, great. If it doesn't, well, let's try another angle, and we just keep moving forward. My name is Mike Ackelson, and my sports network is your sports network.
What can you do on over 5,000 acres? At Mill Creek Metro Parks, you can discover unique habitats and wildlife, create memorable family moments, experience history, heritage, and park programs, explore scenic landscapes, take time to relax and be well, connect with nature and each other. Come see what's new at Mill Creek Metro Parks. Plan your trip now at millcreekmetroparks.org.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means taking care of our local customers.
And it's just a great feeling to put them in a vehicle and get them all excited about a new vehicle.
At the end of the day, our goal is to be someone our customers can count on.
And every day I'll go the extra mile for the community so they can trust us.
To do anything that would convenience the customer or make them feel more at home.
Realizing, number one, that we're here for them and that we're not going to go away.
That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Anthony Hartwig with another spring season preview. We're joined from Boardman and the softball team. Head coach Fred Moots returns for another season. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me as always.
You got it. Before we start talking about this season, let's have a little bit of a kind of a recap and a reflection of the way last year went and some of the things that you're taking from last year to the returning players into this year as far as lessons learned and things you can build on.
Well, I don't think the year ended the way we wanted it to. But, you know, there's a lot we could take from last year. Obviously, we're very young last year, very inexperienced. We only had 3 seniors. Our whole infield was, practically brand new. So we, coming into this year, we feel much more confident with, obviously playing together, haven't played together last year, getting things, to really, more cohesive to come together this year. I think, 10-15 overall with our schedule, I was okay with that. The wins and losses are, to me, aren't ultimately important. It's how we play in those games. And then obviously to prepare us for the tournament, that's why we play the schedule we do. That's why we schedule up. I thought we did some good things last year. We pitched great. Obviously losing Natalie Davis is a is, a big deal. I mean, Natalie went on to play at Westminster. She had a great senior year last season, but I have great pitching coming back, obviously. A lot of returners coming back. So, we will build from last year into this year. And like I said, I think there's going to be much more familiarity with each other this year than last year.
When people look at the offensive numbers as a whole from last year, they might not look great, but a lot of that had to do with the first half of the season. And this new lineup that you're talking about really started to put the bats together second half of the year. How much are you hoping that momentum and those reps and that carries over into this year, so you can just say, hey, we can't start like that again and have that, half a season to get into the rhythm on the bats?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. You're right. I mean, it really did have a lot to do with, who we've seen. I mean, we've seen a lot of really good, talented arms. I mean, just in our own conference alone. But, I think that's something this year that we will do a little bit better. I think right now, even in the preseason, we're swinging the bats a little better. I know our pitching will always keep us in games as well as our defense. But, ultimately, we have to be better, especially in crucial points of the game. With runners in scoring position, we did not do a great job at times last year. But, this year I feel more confident, with the fact that we can, start to piece together, some bigger innings. I think, I tell the girls always use the pass the bat mentality, just, figure out a way to get on, no matter how you do it, just, so we can get the, string together 3 or 4 hits and, maybe put together some big innings, and obviously gives your pitchers, to some more comfortable, if you score 3 or 4 runs, you take the onus off them of having to be perfect all the time. And I think last year, that's what we ended up having happen, where, we didn't score when we needed to in crucial times. And then, at times I thought when we did, we unfortunately failed a little bit defensively. So I think this year we will definitely swing the bats much better.
Let's jump into the Meet the Team segment of the interview and have you go over your roster. Obviously, a lot of returning players and maybe a couple of new faces that you think Boardman fans need to know about.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like I said, we pretty much return our entire infield from last year. This year, Olivia Lascivita is going to do our catching for us. Maddie Weimer is going to play some in the outfield for us. But, for us, it starts in the circle with Gabby and Tori. I mean, those two, are 1 and 1A, in my opinion. They both are a little different in styles, but, they both have unique styles, but they both are very effective. And, ultimately, like I said, I mean, it starts there. They'll always keep us in games. And then, I think, first base, like I said, Natalie played last year at first for us, but this year Leah Haybager is going to step into that role, play some first base with us, along with probably Katie Pellin, who's a senior, and maybe even Ellie Weimer, who has she's a sophomore, but this preseason she has really performed well. So she's going to play some in the outfield for us as well. She's swinging a good bat. She's got she's very athletic. Second base, we have Ava Freeborough, who started there last year for us. Ava's obviously getting a little bit of a late start with basketball, but that's okay. Lacey Juris at short. Lacey is just always a constant there, and she's another very great athlete. And Alex Ward at third base, who's played extremely well there. Alex hit the ball very well for us last year, and Alex is coming in this year with a great mindset. She's become a great leader for us. So, Alex will play at third base for us. And then in the outfield, we're gonna have likes of senior Maddie Burke. Maddie's swinging a good stick as well here in the preseason. So Maddie's going to see some time out there. And then, we'll probably put Tori out there when Gabby's pitching. And then Sophia Lascivita will get some time in the outfield as well. And Gabby Bagnesarian will also play here, probably play some third base for us. So we got a lot of senior leadership on this team. Like I said, we have 7 seniors. Sophia Rivera is part of the team this year. She's going to, help with, and running bases for us and stuff like that. So I really feel, like I said, really confident in what we bring back here on the varsity level. And, and as far as our junior varsity, we had a scrimmage against United's varsity last week or about 10 days ago. And, they played extremely well. And Michaela Rivera, who's a freshman, is going to get some playing time for us. She's really coming on strong, and she's had so far, again, same thing, a little bit late of a start with basketball, but she's playing very well for us. Addie Kowacek, who's going to pitch not only at the varsity level for us, but she's going to, play JVs as well. She'll be kind of a two-way player. We have Olivia Petrich, who's a sophomore. Liv's going to play the outfield for us. Lainey Joyce, who's another great athlete. Lainey's going to play short for us, probably play some outfield for us. Jocelyn Torres, who's also a sophomore. Jocelyn's another great athlete, another good basketball player. Like I said, getting a little bit of a late start, but like I said, these girls have, come in ready to go. We have some freshmen in Sophia Barkey, Serenity Martin, Kate Thames, Mackenzie Cherney. Mackenzie's, the younger sister of Morgan Cherney, who caught for us for, a few years that went on. She's playing in college as well, having a nice little college career there. Mackenzie's a first baseman, can swing a good stick. Then we have Lily Haas, who, Lily's going to catch some JVs, but she's also going to help us at the varsity level this year. We don't have a ton of catching there, so Lily's going to help us there. Sarah Land, Jr., who's going to also pitch for us this year as she's a junior. Sarah's had an amazing year last year, JV's pitching. She's tough to hit, but we're confident in Sarah down there. And we have Alex Taylor, who's another great athlete. Alex has moved here from Liberty. She's a great swimmer. As anybody that's familiar with swimming, she was AAC Swimmer of the Year. And, Alex is going to play some first base for us. Like it's another freshman. And we have Gia Pizzo. Gia is another great athlete. I mean, we've mentioned this year with the coaches how much more athletic we have gotten as a team. And, it just, like I said, up and down our lineup, we could just, we can name athletes, and like I said, we're really confident that this year we're going to be able to do some other things that, on the bases and everything else. And then Riley Delicio, who's a freshman. Unfortunately, Riley is playing injured. She cannot play this year, but Riley, hopefully we can get her healthy for next year. Riley's a catcher as well. And, I think Riley's going to do some great things for us. So like I said, we're led by, 7 seniors, and there's a lot of good leadership in that regard.
Let's try to talk about your schedule as well. The teams that pop up, we'll start with your conference because that's probably the hardest conference maybe in the whole state of Ohio. You have a state champion in Fitch, a state runner-up in Canfield. If that wasn't hard enough, you also have a very talented Howland team and then a scrappy Warren Harding team as well to deal with in the conference. Talk about what it's like to navigate the AAC and what you expect out of it this year and what you're hoping to get out of it this year.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much just summed it up. I mean, if there's a tougher conference in the state, I want to see it because, I mean, listen, make no mistake about what we know we're up against here with Austintown Fitch and Coach Ward and what they have over there and obviously in Coach Kernan and Canfield and, and Coach White, obviously in Howland as well. Like you said, that it's watch them play a little bit, scrimmage champion, and it's just, they're hitting on all cylinders as well. So, and like you said, Warren Harding, they just get better and better every year. So there's no easy, out in our conference. I mean, it's tough. I mean, but we know that and we accept that. But, for us to compete for the conference, I mean, we have to play great. We can't play good. We have to play great. And we know that. And we've stressed this with our girls so far in this preseason that, you really can't make mistakes, and we're going to make them. We're kids and, they're kids and we're going to make mistakes and it happens, but you can't compound them with multiple mistakes. You might get away with a couple of more mistakes with some other teams, but in our conference, the likes of, Sydney Watts and Melena Toth and Ayla Ray and Abby Toth and Brooke Tater. I mean, you go on and on. I mean, we're talking about some of these girls, some are already, and some of them are going to be perennial Division I players as well, and then you throw in, Ayla Ray's little sister, Kalena. I mean, it's, as a freshman, I mean, these girls are, they're going to bring it every time they come to play. And we know that we have to match that. And we know that, we're not intimidated. We know what we're up against. That's one thing for sure. So, we get what we're up against here in this conference, but we want to compete for it. And we know that, hey, you know what? We get up the same way and put our clothes on the same way as everyone else does. So we have to take that mindset that, you know what, we can do this too. We can be just as good as any one of these other teams. And, and hopefully, as we get going here and we gain some confidence, I know our schedule doesn't always allow that, but if we come out of the gate, we can play strong. And like I said, even if it's their losses, if you play tough in those games, you can compete.
Your non-conference schedule would make it seem like you don't have a tough conference, but you absolutely do, because you're also flooding your non-conference schedule with a lot of tough games. Talk about some teams that pop up outside of the AAC and who you're excited to kind of square up against this year.
Well, I mean, right out of the gate, a week from Saturday, North Canton Hoover. We all know the pedigree of North Canton Hoover. So, we know that we played them last year, didn't fare well. We started the game out strong, but unfortunately, once you let a team like that get going and you don't stop the bleeding, they're just going to pounce on you. And unfortunately, it didn't go our way last year. But we got them at home this year. We're confident, early on, and like I said, of what we're doing so far early on here. And I mean, staying in the Federal League, we're going to play Jackson, another great team that's always tough every year. We're going to play our Archbishop Hoban, another team was good last year. That's going to be even more improved this year. We play Painesville Riverside. Coach Ross does a great job with that team. Last year we played them twice, and unfortunately we were on the bad end of both. Both games that we had leads in, unfortunately we lost them. But that's because that's a team that just is well coached. They never quit. They just keep they just keep coming after you. And we also play Menor, who's look Menor held their own last year against Austintown, and Menor is obviously, we know this, the size of that school. It's a very big school, but Menor has improved. We played them last year, played another close game. We beat them in a close win. So Menor is going to be another tough out. And even some of these, Division III and Division IV teams that we've scheduled, they're all good. They're all powerhouses. Columbiana, we know what Columbiana has. Matthews, well coached, regional team year in and year out. Lakeview, Coach Kellum over there, that team is loaded. We played them in the Winter League. And, so even some of these other teams that we play that are, maybe not the D1 or D2 level, they're going to be tough. And we play Poland every year. Poland, Coach Sherrich over there always gives us a battle. And maybe they don't have the likes of Katie anymore, but they got talent there, and we know that. And he's always going to have them ready to go. So no matter what we schedule, whether it's Division I teams or Division III, we want to schedule up. Like I said, I didn't get into this to win a bunch of games. If it happens in the process, that's great. But I want my girls to be ready to, be prepared for the tournament. And that's also why we're going down south again. We're going to Florida again, and we're going to play 5 really tough games down there. I mean, that's always going to be tough. And we're okay with that. Like I said, it's, this is why we do what we do every year with our schedule.
That Florida trip, let's talk about it real quick before we jump into your coaching staff. What benefits does a trip like that have? I know it's got to be a little bit hard to organize and try to as a coach, try to keep some organization amidst the chaos of a trip like that, but you go through it for a reason. What benefits does a trip like that do for your team?
Well, first off, it's team bonding. The girls, I mean, we have a pretty tight-knit team already, but, it's that extra added team bonding, the ability to be able to go down there in the great weather, obviously be able to play. Most times you're up here, you can't even play. And it is early this year, with Easter being early, so it's a benefit to be down there. But, the girls be able to spend time together, whether it be on the beach or we're going to do other activities. And also, to really see other teams down there that, last time we were down there, it's a different softball. I mean, they're already into their year, a month before us, so really it's a fun time. It's something that, as many years as I've coached or been a part of with my daughter playing, every girl always reverts back to a special moment being in one of the trips. And, I don't do it every single year, but it's something that, it's fun to do. And it is tough. And, I'm thankful for our club to allow us these opportunities that our parents fundraise to be able to do this, because you're right. They're tough to organize. They're not easy, and to be able to get everybody down there, and, you worry as a coach, we get everyone down there safely, and, you want to play. But like I said, we also want to enjoy the trip itself and the bonding aspect of it as well.
All right, let's give you the chance to also shout out your coaching staff. We let you, introduce us to the team. Who do you have working for you this year? Who's helping you make this Boardman program so good?
Well, Lindsay Connell, starts with her. Lindsay's been with me since, I've taken the job of Boardman. Lindsay's actually was here prior to even me. So Lindsay's my assistant. Lindsay, she does a great job of calling pitches. Lindsay's really good with the girls. She's sort of like that mom that, they can kind of talk to or lean on when, maybe they're having a tough day or whatever the case may be. So, like I said, me and Lindsay have been together, and, we really do we complement each other in a lot of ways. And then, and then also having Paige with us at the varsity level. Obviously, coaching with my daughters, it's a special deal. It's always been. But, Paige knows these girls just as well as you do, probably better than most. You guys have both attributed to them over the years of travel here with the Still Valley Storm. But, having Paige and, her ability to, relate to them, because she's played this game, obviously, for, her all the years that she played, and also in the college. And she's another one that the girls can, really relate to. And, I just love having her there with me all the time. And I see a lot of me in her. Sometimes it's probably not always good, but but she does a great job. And someday when it's all said and done, Paige's going to be a coach someday, and a very good one, a head coach somewhere. And then at our JV level, I bring back Brian Ladner. Brian was first year was with me last year, and Brian is probably one of the most organized individuals I've ever been associated with. He's very meticulous in what he does. Brian is very good. He's a coach. He's an educator. So it's really good to have someone in the school as to be able to relate with the girls, and and anything that might arise during the day. It's nice to have Brian in the school, and Brian just learns like on the fly. I mean, he's good at and picks up anything. And Brian, if you didn't know, you'd have thought Brian's been coaching softball for 15 years. I mean, he's really good at like I said, he's like a sponge. I've said this before. He absorbs everything, and like I said, and he's really good with the girls, and he's very organized, and and it's such a big asset to have someone like that, like I said, within the school. So Brian's gonna take on the roles of JVs again with Coach Joe Mazaris, who I brought in. Coach Joe, this is his first year with us, but Coach Joe Mazaris has been coaching softball for a lot of years. Coach was with Canfield for many years. He was with Ray Molesky when Ray was there. Coach ended up going to reserve with Mike Cook, and Coach Joe just loves softball. I mean, this guy, at one point he said he'd do it for free if that's what we wanted him to do, because he just loves the game. The girls love him. He like I said, he's been around the game for a lot of years, so he brings a lot to the adds a lot to this team. And and I'm one to lean on my assistants. I mean, I one thing I've always said, I mean, if there's no point in having them if you're not going to utilize what they do best, and and let them coach. I mean, this isn't all about just me or or one coach in particular, or it's about a staff, and I think we complement each other very well. So I'm really excited about what this year will hold for all of us.
Coach, we're excited too. We appreciate your time. We look forward to the season. Give the Boardman fans one shout out on when they can find you in your first home game and when they can start watching the Lady Spartan, the softball team.
Well, I mean, we open up our regular season. We open up next Saturday at home against, like I said, against Canton Hoover. I mean, we have a scrimmage lined up against a really good green team tomorrow. So if anybody's, wanting to come out to see what we look like here tomorrow, you can come out tomorrow. We're at home, so the weather's supposed to be great. So, we're getting ready to, we're excited about getting this thing rolling. Hopefully we'll have a week prior to going down to Florida. Hopefully we get some games in prior to going down there.
All right, Coach. Like I said, we're looking forward to it too. We appreciate your time. Wish you the best of luck this year, and can't wait to talk to you in real soon.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? I just want to tell you guys, I appreciate everything you guys have done. You guys are amazing. I mean, the exposure for our student athletes is amazing. I've said it time and time again. There's nothing like YSN. I mean, in this entire area, and any school that's not, I'm pretty certain it's probably every school you have now. But if you're not hooked up with YSN, it's a shame, because you guys do an amazing job of not only, you highlight what's important, which is the student athlete. And one other thing, I want to give a shout out to our athletic director, Marco Marinucci. Marco's retiring this year in June. And I just want to say, Marco's been an educator. He's been a coach. He's been an administrator, but he's been a great athletic director. But more importantly, he's been a great mentor for me. I wouldn't be where I am as a coach today without Marco. He's going to be missed. But you know what? It's a well-deserved retirement. So we'll miss him, but he deserves it.
Well deserved indeed, Coach. And one day, hopefully not soon, because we want to see you coaching for a long time, but you'll have a well deserved one as well.
All right, I hope so.
YSN thanks you for watching this presentation of Your Sports Network.